at kitchener.ca or register online at kitchener.ca/delegation and use the delegation registration form. For the electronic participation deadline, please refer to the delegation section in the agenda, and written comments received will be circulated prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archive videos are available at kitchener.ca/watchnow. Accessible formats and communication supports are also available upon request. Are there any members of the committee who wish to declare any pecuniary interest regarding matters listed on the agenda? Councillor Ioannidis. Oh, Councillor Michaud, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Under the consent items, 3.3 DSD 2026-18 with a place of employment, my other employment.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from the committee on the consent items? Councillor Stretch.
Thank you. I'm wondering if we can pull out 3.2 and 3.3.
Okay, can I have a mover to move those out? Councillor Owoduty. And all those in favor of moving these out? Okay, great. Go ahead, Councillor Stretch.
Okay, so for item 3.2, the sports streaming. Let's wait till staff come down. So in reading the report, I saw that you included lessons learned from other challenges, and that has informed some of the stronger controls. Can you speak to some of those stronger controls?
Yes, to the chair. We have put in place over this last year stronger standard operating procedures with both within the Minor Hockey Association, who manages the scheduling of the current structure. So they tiered down some of what was being viewed to allow for greater control based on the nature of their games. Plus, on the scheduling, we added a second tier of viewing of the schedule from staff that allowed for much greater controls on weekly checks on what's being scheduled and to be able to view the calendar on the year. And then at the end of the season, there was additional practice on ensuring that everything was shut down, and we've actually unplugged the cameras as well from a staff side.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And is there any concerns, or is there any ability for the cameras to have AI connected to them? And will there be any facial recognition technology being used at all? Sorry, one sec.
Sorry, turn your mic. Sorry, there you go.
Okay, through the chair, there is no ability that I'm aware of to attach AI to the system. It's a controlled system through the streaming service, and it's fully secure in that capacity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's it.
Okay, Councillor Johnston, you have a question? Same item? I do. Okay.
Thanks, Chair Schneider. And thanks for your report. Much appreciated. I had a question as well around the operations of the cameras. I had heard from a resident with regards to an issue with the cameras being left on longer than what they thought they had signed up for, you know, an hour-long hockey game or whatever. Can you talk about the controls that are in place around ensuring that we know when the cameras are in use or when they're not?
Through the chair, yeah, we currently, the challenge with the scheduling right now, and this is why they reduced the to only rep games for Kitchener Minor Hockey, is that there's structured times within that. If the game goes long, we lose part of that game instead of, so they keep it structured to the hour. Some of the improvements made by the provider was the scheduling used to be in 15-minute increments. Now they're down to 1-minute increments. So if it goes long, you're more often or not, you're going to lose the last minute or two of a hockey game if the hockey game goes into overtime versus it actually going long into another session.
That's great. So it sounds like that problem has been dealt with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for item 3.3, Councillor Stretch? Oh, just to cue in.
Thank you. So this is the Affordable Housing and Co-op Housing incentive. Thank you. So again, in reading the report, I learned that there's possibly a new community advisory committee being proposed through the pilot.
Through the chair, that's not my understanding. I'm not sure if you can point me to the section of the report.
Yeah, so there's an advisory group, and so maybe I didn't understand that wasn't, what does that group look like?
Through the chair, we have a group of staff that review applications. So that staff includes somebody with a finance background, another person from our finance team as well, as some staff in planning. So we review all of the applications and involve other staff beyond that core group as needed to come up with a recommendation.
Oh, I see, so it's not a resident, I understand, okay, thank you. And then, can you also, I read in the report that there's an idea for how to scale this after the pilot is complete, and so what is the vision, or right now, I know we'll learn through this, but what is the vision for scaling this project?
Through the chair, when the incentive was first approved back in 2024, we had enough funding for 520 units. Our minimum commitment through the Housing Accelerator funding was 260. So we already have the funding for it. So it's really to continue the program along until we use up all of that funding for 520 units.
Wonderful, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Okay. So we need a mover for the consent items, and we have to split this up. So item 3.3 will be dealt with separately first. Councillor Johnson, Councillor Doe. All those in favor of 3.3? Great. And for the balance of the consent items, mover, Councillor Ioannidis. All those in favor? Okay, great, thank you. We value a democratic process that encourages participation and dialogue in our council and committee meetings and through written submissions and correspondence. It's important that these interactions are presented respectfully towards other members of the public, staff, and council. So as a delegation, you may not interrupt councillor, staff, or other delegations, make derogatory statements about councillor, staff, or others that are disrespectful, or use hate speech or language that's considered harmful or defamatory. The chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which would involve removal from the meeting. Delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum of 5 minutes, and to help keep track, there's a timer displayed on the screen in front of you. When you reach 4 minutes and 30 seconds, a bell will sound. At that point, it lets you know you have 30 seconds remaining to conclude your presentation. At the 5-minute mark, a second tone will sound to note the end of your allotted time, and the microphones will turn off shortly after that exceeded 5-minute mark. Committee members may ask questions about what you spoke about in your presentation, and if there are no questions for you, please know that this is council's time to really listen and reflect on the opinions, thoughts, and ideas that you shared with us. So our first item is item 5.1, the Retro Affordable Housing Waterloo Region report. And Ms. Anna Marie Cipriani, our Corporate Sustainability Officer, will provide a presentation on this matter.
Good afternoon, Council. I'd like to walk you through our project context that you have in the report, which will be about the Kitchener-led retrofit pilot project, and then a project being led by Waterloo Region Community Energy that will take that pilot project and scale it across our community. And then we'll look at the recommendations. So I'd like to provide you with context for this project. This project lies at the intersection of climate action, equity, and affordability. We know that in our community greenhouse gas emissions, 20% of those emissions come from homes. We know that our climate warming projections for Kitchener show that we are and will continue to have more extreme heat and extended heat waves. We will have many more days above 30 degrees Celsius, and we have traditionally been accustomed to being able to open windows and cool ourselves in the evenings. Our evenings will become hotter as well. We learned from the BC heat dome that just over 600 people died, but 98% of those people that did die died in their homes. I'll speak in a bit about how this project aligns with what you recently heard about the strategic plan and specifically the Abacus data findings. So let's look at this Kitchener-led retrofit pilot project. We've been working with these partners towards a common goal of retrofitting 118 heat pumps in each of the units at 31 Oprington Drive, providing heating and for the first time centralized cooling to all residents. As a project team, we are committing to monitoring household utility costs and tenant experience. The outputs that you can expect in 2027 include a case study and integration of our learnings into our planning team's future policy work and Kitchener Utilities utility programming. The request for this project is $100,000 coming from the Affordable Housing Operating Account. I want to note that this is not new tax-based funding and is funds that are purposely dedicated towards supporting affordable housing in the community. So this Kitchener-led pilot project is scaling to a region-wide program. We are being asked by Waterloo Region Community Energy to be founding partners. As such, we will contribute one staff person, and we do feel we have that staff capacity. That staff will help to guide and design program development. The financial ask is for $50,000, a one-time commitment in 27 to Waterloo Region Community Energy from the same affordable housing operating account to convene a team of local experts to deliver to you in 2028 a directory of nonprofit and cooperative community housing providers, the summary of the energy audits they've conducted, full completion of 2 to 3 retrofits, and highlights of all of our learnings through those processes. We'll develop profiles, specifically building typologies in this sector and best bet retrofits, a development of a directory of partners and programs, and complete a business case and a plan to scale the program. So let's look at these recommendations again. There's a request for $100,000. This is a one-time offering to support the Kitchener-led affordable housing retrofit project that we're partnered with Kitchener Housing Incorporated on from the Affordable Housing Operating Account, and a $50,000 one-time contribution in 27 to Waterloo Region Community Energy to lead a pilot program development across our community. I'd suggest that supporting this recommendation is an investment in affordable housing in our community and is very much aligned with the emerging community priorities that we heard about in that Abacus study that you recently received. And especially, it's focusing on addressing precarity, absorbing shocks, partnering to support affordable housing options. This work will inform integrated and future-ready Kitchener planning policies and Kitchener Utilities programmings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cipriani. I see Councillor Arnaitis and Councillor Singer in the queue, but we're going to have some delegations first. And our first delegation is Urfa Alani from Kitchener Housing. Welcome, Ms. Alani.
Good afternoon. At Kitchener Housing, Inc. I wanted to give you some additional context with respect to the ask and the project itself. So this is a fully funded $1.2 million heat pump retrofit. So Kitchener Housing has funded all of the core capital costs, and what is being asked for is funding towards the community learning and the scalability of this issue. You'll see that the project serves 117 townhomes and community spaces impacting 295 residents, and it is being designed to be a repeatable model. In terms of the location itself, it is an occupied, family-oriented, affordable housing project. Residents include 35 two-bedroom units, 76 three-bedroom units, which include 3 accessible units, 6 four-bedroom units, and you'll see currently there are 19 children being under the age of 12, as well as 25 residents over the age of 65. Currently, there is no integrated cooling on this site, so this project directly will address heat resilience. This slide shows the commitments that Kitchener Housing has already made, some $788,000 with respect to heat pump installations. $129,000 has already been spent on energy audits and technical learning. In addition, there's been significant staff time, the hiring of a dedicated project manager with respect to procurement, tenant coordination, logistics, and delivery. An important point here is the earlier audit work is already creating impact. It's been shared by city staff at a global conference as an example of municipal climate leadership. It's also important to note that had we decided not to partner and instead wait for somebody else to do this pilot, it would have been less expensive, it would have been faster to deliver, and potentially we may have been eligible for more robust utility rebates that may come as a result of this pilot. Enbridge Gas currently offers rebates and savings programs that Kitchener residents are not eligible for, including heat pump rebates up to $12,000 and smart thermostat rebates of $75. This project is not a single building. It is an example that hopefully can be replicated both across our portfolio and across others. And the decision before council is not necessarily related to this project in itself, but how do we take these learnings and turn one project into shared municipal knowledge? This project is going to test resident readiness, communication, access, tenant experience, technical sequencing, electrical and install logistics, real performance data, and scalability across the portfolio. The output, I want to make sure you understand, is not a report. It is a practical retrofit playbook. Deliverables include standard specs, procurement templates, tenant engagement tools, and performance data frameworks. It is particularly challenging in this context because this is an installation across 117 occupied homes. Real constraints include scheduling, access with families, seniors, disabled individuals, and children, managing disruptions in lived-in spaces, unit-by-unit variability, and maintaining quality at scale, which is why a pilot is so important. Benefits extend to residents in terms of comfort, cooling, reliability, to Kitchener Housing, Inc. in terms of better data, planning, funding readiness, and to the city in terms of local implementation, evidence, reusable tools, and a reputation as a retrofit leader. Thank you so much for your time.
And thank you, Ms. Alana. We do have some questions for you, starting with Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
My question has to do with the whole Kitchener Housing envelope. So this is 117 units, 118 units. How many other units do you anticipate doing the retrofit on?
So I'm going to say, first of all, it'll depend on the results of this particular pilot, but this $1.2 million, 117 unit heat pump project is part of a larger project that we are implementing, a $2.5 million project in terms of general environmental upgrades across our portfolio, the other impacting 500 units.
So do all the units other than these 118, do they all have cooling?
No, they
purposes?
don't.
No, they don't. Okay, wow, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Owoduni.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think Councillor Chapman had asked the question in line with what I was thinking as well, but the second part of my question was, would love to see it, I guess it's not a question, probably more of a comment, when, this is done, if it is passed, would love to see a situation or a plan around how will we communicate with landlords and so that they see the incentives and the need for something like this within their homes. Is this something that is going to be part of that?
Yeah, I can tell you that at the end of this pilot, and we are on an aggressive timeline. So we are hoping to finish this installation by August, starting June 1st. In fact, everyone's welcome. Both tomorrow and the day after, we're holding tenant information and engagement sessions at 31 Opprington. And the plan at the end is to have not just a communication plan, but also real data in terms of what this means for tenant comfort, right? And surveys over time, what this means for utility costs across the board, and any other particular learnings, all of the intangibles that come with this, and hopefully a package that can be supportive of a broader rollout, not just for our portfolio, but across the entire social housing sector.
Okay. And just for clarification, our ultimate goal is 500 units across Kitchener. Is that the number we're aiming for? Are there more that were needed long term?
I don't know what the goal is for the broader project, so I will defer to my colleagues. I can tell you our goal at Kitchener Housing is, if this works well and if we're able to secure the funding, that we would do a rollout across all of our townhouses. It's a different situation with our apartment buildings, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, this is, I think, a good initiative for us to piggyback on. Obviously, this is a financial commitment from Kitchener residents as well. But the overall project is significant on its own. The 100,000 is a small consideration of the overall project, correct?
That's correct. The project is 1.2 million, and all of the capital costs are being fully funded by Kitchener Housing Inc.
Okay, so the other part of the overall scope of the project, this is good. Again, it meets our targets for environmental sustainability, and again, we are asking private developers to consider heat pumps. And now, I think with our relationship with Kitchener Housing, we're able to get direct relationship data over the length of time to see exactly what the overall performance savings are, and so we can make that better articulation with the development community as well. But there's a lot of other incentives and grants available as well. There's a Green Municipal Fund through the FCM. Obviously, there's other grant opportunities through the federal government, and even retrofitting through REAP. What other avenues have you guys considered to try to meet that whole of 1.2 million funding commitment?
So with respect to our broader project, the $2.5 million, we have received some funding from CMHC towards our broader initiative with lots of performance data, et cetera, attached to it. The heat pumps are only happening at Opprington.
Yeah.
And our hope is that this project will provide enough real data, both in terms of different types of heat pumps, the implementation experience, what this means with respect to aging stock. There is other work that needs to be done to make some of these units ready for heat pumps as well, and that information will help us secure what we need to model and to do business cases to go out broader throughout our portfolio.
So I like that. It'll allow you to have a broader business case for you to make that case on other projects as well. So as that opportunity avails itself, this may be going outside the scope of the project, but I would love to take your opinion. Have you guys considered setting up is it incentive or wisdom towards setting up a fund where the savings are, it goes into the fund, which helps you to retrofit other units as well. Is that the direction that you guys are looking at?
I haven't thought about it, but I have to say that is an excellent idea and certainly something worth exploring.
Well, my colleagues will attest that I do give excellent ideas around the horseshoe. um, Joking aside, I do want to give strong encouragement that when we do this, and I'm a strong supporter, all on board on this one, I think it'll be an investment, but a return back to the community. When we start one, but we reach out for other incentives as well. So have you guys looked at working with REAP and seeing a full retrofit of not just a heat pump, but you are looking at other retrofitting opportunities within the scope of the units?
Yes, we've been exploring solar. We've been exploring a number of different options across the portfolio. So in addition to this, there are some other things we're trying. Remember, we've got the broader $2.5 million project. I have to say that working with city officials and the utility has been incredible. It is a fabulous partnership, and the utility in particular has been wonderful about identifying programs that we can apply for outside of this particular, in terms of water savings, et cetera.
So speaking of giving excellent ideas, another opportunity I think you guys should strongly consider, especially when we're talking about green initiatives. We have a strong partner within the community, Nova Energy. Nova Energy also has Grand River GRE, Grand River Energy, which is non-regulated opportunities, a business case, but those are typically rely around energy, but at the same time, some sustainable projects as well, solar roof, battery power, and all of that. Look at all the availed partners in the community so that we can get the maximum benefit out of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm looking at my colleague to make sure he's taking notes, and we'll be in touch.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thanks, Urfa, for coming in. Just wanted to highlight that you've been an incredible addition to KHI, and glad that you're on board and you're here today to represent KHI. I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask, and I guess Councillor Ioduni and Councillor Singh sort of touched upon it in the goals, is can you just further elaborate further on what it takes for the stock that we have and how to take it to the next level? And programs like this is just one thing, but what is more needed? So whether or not, as this member of a committee or we're council today, right? Committee, so that we can go to other levels of government and support whatever initiatives that we need to enable to help affordable housing, in particular KHI, with other issues.
I can tell you that we have aging stock, right? Most of our buildings are sort of 30 years old, and there is a lot of capital work that needs to be done. I can't speak to what happened before I arrived, but I can tell you some things. COVID in particular was very hard for the social housing sector. People lost access to their mental health supports. They didn't have the same access to their doctors. We have a lot of individuals that, without their medications, were not treating the property the way that it was meant to be treated. We have the reality that many, many people age in their homes. And so homes that were initially okay for them when they were in their 20s, now that they are in their 50s and 60s, don't really work as well. And so we're trying to do a lot of work at once. We're also trying to bring more wraparound services to support folks so that if we ever end up in a situation like COVID as well, we're able to backfill some of the things that just weren't happening because the infrastructure of the that's there. We have people in our homes that perhaps are not really in a position to live unassisted, right? That they need other supports. And in the absence of those sorts of supports, things like pest control that comes from just not keeping your home clean, these are just not manageable by some of the people that live with us. So we're trying to make sure that we're giving them as much support as possible. but as you know, over time, old buildings need a lot of maintenance. In the 1990s, buildings were built with copper pipes. That was just the way it was. We now know that copper pipes deteriorate over time. You get pinhole leaks, so we have all kinds of water damage that we're trying to do while we try to repipe across our portfolio. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but
That's kind of exactly what I was looking for. Anyways, Mr. Chair, when the time's appropriate, I'm prepared to move the recommendation.
Up next, we have Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Schneider. Thank you, Urfa, for coming out today. Anecdotally, like, what is the impact on the tenants by providing air conditioning?
there are absolute public health impacts, right, in terms of heat resilience. There are impacts with respect to comfort. You know, we are replacing furnaces and other aging stock, right? So there is more reliability, particularly in the winter. It's the start of creating not just more comfortable, but more resilient infrastructure for them. While there is a large upfront cost, the expectation is new HVAC systems, et cetera, will mean less repairs and less disruption to their lives moving forward.
Right. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. Remind me, who pays the heating and the hydro costs?
It depends on the rent class, but for people who are on, which I believe, though I can check and get back to this this council, I don't want to misrepresent. I believe all of our Orpington residents are on either our rent geared to income or on a rent sub, which means their housing costs are capped at a particular level, and that includes the utility costs.
Right. Okay, and so potentially KHI could see some savings over time. I guess that's the hope, not just financially, but citywide for greenhouse gases. That's the idea behind this, right?
That is the hope, but again, the reality is until we pilot and test it, we don't actually know what's going to happen with respect to utility costs. We're going from nothing in terms of cooling to a cooling solution, which may increase costs.
Right. Yeah. I'm fully on board. As somebody who grew up in the 9-story building, in the middle, summers weren't nearly as hot as they are now. Having cooling is beyond. It brings a big change to your life. Having air conditioning in your unit. So thank you very much for bringing this forward, and to staff as well.
Okay, there's no further questions. Thank you so much. Our next delegation is Matthew Day from Waterloo Region Community Energy. Welcome, Matthew.
Councillor, my name is Matthew Day. I'm here with my colleague Natasha Ng on behalf of WR Community Energy. For those of you who don't know, we're a partnership with the City of Kitchener, Waterloo Cambridge, the Region of Waterloo, and our 3 utilities, including, as we talked about earlier today, Kitchener Utilities and Innova. We implement our community energy investment strategy and help steer the energy transition in a local, clean, and equitable way, including on projects like we're talking about today, Retrofit Affordable Housing Waterloo Region, or RAR, as we call it. This is a 2-year program to help enable energy and water efficiency retrofits in nonprofit and cooperative community housing across Waterloo Region. These buildings are critical to our affordable housing stock, but they're increasingly expensive, don't have appropriate cooling, as we've discussed, which puts our vulnerable populations at risk, and are in need of major investments. To answer some questions from earlier, there are about 4,600 affordable housing units in Waterloo Region that could benefit from this. And we expect more as national policies come online. And in fact, just last week, our national electrification strategy was released, and they talked about funding to retrofit 1 million homes in Canada. And this positions us to take advantage of new opportunities and funding as they become available. Through WR Community Energy and other founding partners, including the City of Waterloo and Waterloo Region Community Foundation, this program will hire a dedicated energy manager, an energy concierge, that is experienced with affordable housing retrofits, is local to Waterloo Region, and is qualified to provide expertise to city staff and to staff such as those that IRFA works with. This work builds on strong partnerships we've built with the City of Kitchener through other programs like Retrofit WR and High Performance Development Standards. Now, to be clear, WR Community Energy will not carry this project in the long term. After we develop it to maturity, we will pass on to other groups that are more suited to operate this sustainably, including perhaps REAP or Retrofit WR, if and when it is ready to expand. But in order to create the sustainable program, we do need pilot projects, and that's where KHI comes in. We have and will continue to work with Kitchener staff to help develop a program in a way that helps integrate affordable energy and housing situations, in a way that helps the City of Kitchener develop its policies. The City of Kitchener will benefit from receiving access to technical information, market research, funding opportunities, and best practices in the overlap of the complex areas of energy retrofits and social considerations. And this will allow the city to continue to lead in innovative projects that serve people who are underserved. As noted in the staff report, quote, the pilot project was intentionally developed with scaling in mind. This collaborative pilot program is intended to enable energy and water efficiency retrofits that improve the quality of life for those living in community housing across Waterloo Region. And as I mentioned before, community housing provides a compelling portfolio with over 4,600 units. In order to retrofit these units to the energy efficiency that's required, that will cost about $230 million. Working together allows us to achieve scale that allows us for bulk purchasing, attract funding and financing, and engage other decision makers. Without a coordinated approach, these retrofits either won't happen or will be delayed or will cost more money than they need to. The ROAR program is about closing this gap and doing it in a way that is collaborative, practical, and designed to scale. And it will develop a business case to support future projects at scale. So our role at WR Community Energy is to align policies and infrastructure and market solutions around a shared goal, advancing a clean, local, and equitable energy future. Waterloo Region has the partnerships and the expertise and the scale to make meaningful progress on retrofitting our existing housing stock. And we would like the City of Kitchener to join us and our partners because this is a unique opportunity to align our housing, energy, and climate goals in a way that delivers real benefits for residents. So I'd like to open it up to questions, especially questions from Councillor Singh, if you have any. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. We do have a question from Councillor Ioannidis.
Thanks, Matthew, for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I guess my question would be with regards to retrofit in general in the province and maybe Canada. Are we falling behind in this community with regards to that?
Are we falling behind in this community in terms of retrofits? I don't have a good enough understanding of the national landscape to say whether we're ahead or behind, but clearly there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of need to retrofit these homes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies. Actually, this is a question for Anna Marie. The heat pumps, are they Canadian, American, China? Does anybody know?
So through the chair, while Will Edmonston is the project manager from the Kitchener Housing Incorporated side of things, and so he's really on the front lines of engaging tenants, leading the procurement process as well, and we followed the KHI procurement process. And so, still looking.
You can follow up with me.
Sure. And we
I
can do that.
assume that if they are Canadian built, they're probably a little bit more than overseas, and so hopefully they are Canadian made. And what's that? Well, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I can confirm that we have 2 certified energy managers on the project, Matthew Day and Michelle Camfuis, and they did review the technical specifications of the heat pumps through the process. And so it is a dual fuel heat pump and set for our climate. And we'll get back to you on the questions you asked, okay? Thank you.
Up next, we have Councillor Singh.
Yeah, I didn't have a question, but you put me on the spot, so I have to ask you a question. Thanks a lot, Matthew. I think this is going to be a question, I think, of staff as well, but I think you are driving the conversation regarding sustainability, and sustainability doesn't happen on its own. Sustainability is not just about the environment, but sustainability is also about the financial model that helps us create the overall benefit. So talking about the heat pumps as a large capital item, we have a Kitchener utility. We rent out furnaces, we rent out hot water tanks. Was the model looked at how Kitchener Utilities could be the provider of those rental units as opposed to a upfront capital cost, but more it's a rental item that could potentially allow more of these retrofits to happen, and at the same time, it's almost kind of refunding within the community itself?
So through the chair to Councillor Singh's question, Kitchener Utilities has been quite involved in this project, and as part of the discussion around how to support and in alignment with the energy transition strategy that's underway, we are looking towards what the business environment is like for heat pumps. And we did talk about this as being a potential for a pilot to look at rentals. We're not quite there yet. But we do see that there's some really good learning through this partnership that we can then apply as we move into that rental environment.
Well, if I can give a little bit of encouragement, let's get going. We got to get there, especially if we can do more of this. Matthew, I'll just try to push one more regarding sustainability. Councillor Ioannidis touched on this about retrofits goes beyond just the energy requirement, but if we have a better efficient housing unit, which is we're conserving the energy and we're having less heat come in, it's better. So are you guys advocating with the federal government of more of these retrofits where we have had in the past a national kind of drive towards retrofits and they were funded through the federal government before?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. If I'll get to that, can I also answer some of the questions that you asked Urfa from
Please,
earlier?
yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's oodles of funding out there. So much of the funding depends on the definition of affordable housing. There's affordable housing, there's community housing, there's not-for-profit housing, there's cooperative. So where to go for these funding applications is more complicated than you might think from a variety of sources. There's the Ontario Energy Board has some, IESO has some, our local utilities, Innova has some. They're from all over the place. So we're just kind of scratching the surface about the incentives here. And if we can, with this scaled program, we're able to use all of the different definitions of affordable housing to bring in as much of the funding as we can.
Like sustainable water region, like as an organization, do you guys see being a liaison to help guide through the funding environment? And I'm not just looking for funding. It's great when there's money available, but at the end of the day, it's tax dollars and it's all the same pool. But it's even better when the efficiencies drive themselves. Or if there's a revenue model, like I said, Kitchener Utilities or Grand River Energy through Innova, that you keep reinvesting within community. Is that part of the conversation as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Grand River Energy is we work with them a fair bit, especially on some of the other, we talked about one pilot project, but there will be others. I can't announce them publicly, but some of the expected other pilot projects might include hopefully working with Grand River Energy. Incentives are one thing, but from our conversations with other affordable housing providers, financing would be even more sustainable and helpful. So we are looking at some financing options.
Okay, what I would say is it'd be great for us to get a ongoing update as to, even as your organization, how you liaisoning with Kitchener Housing, our utility department, any other agencies, where those small wins might be, and how this council can advocate on your behalf, on the community's behalf, and at the same time where other small low-hanging fruit opportunities where we can potentially pilot and project as well. And one thing that you and I have continued to talk about is potentially helping transfer our development community's interest in having darker shingles to more white color shingles so that we don't have that heat dome like the one that's experienced like places like BC. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. And sorry, Mr. Chair, just confirming it's questions of anyone at this point, right?
Still, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure this first one's definitely put on for you, Mr. Day, but thank you for coming in here. Appreciate your presentation. I'm just wondering if staff can remind me why it is that we cannot offer the same rebate as Enbridge, and if there's any potential solutions going forward to that.
So through the chair, in terms of the rebates, currently there is an agreement required between Enbridge and IESO. We learned recently that IESO must be a signatory associated with the agreements. And so currently we're awaiting the agreements from both Enbridge and IESO.
And sorry, so just, I guess this has happened, I think this has happened before. Is there any, like, it's really unfortunate because my understanding is Enbridge isn't actually funding the rebate, correct? I think that, so Enbridge is getting the benefit of it and our residents are not, it kills me, but is there any way that we can like advocate for that to close that gap in the future?
So through the chair, there has been advocacy through the Office of Mayor and Council and through the provincial government in terms of enabling the program to be available to Kitchener residents that are in the Kitchener Utilities service area. And to your point, Kitchener Utilities is funding the rebates. However, given the way the program works with the province, it requires Enbridge to administer the program and on our behalf. And so that is where the agreements are required with Enbridge. And because IESO is part of the program as well, we recently learned that they also require an agreement with both Enbridge and the city.
Okay, thank you. My next question is...
Sorry, Councillor Vander, did you have a comment on this or a question?
Very briefly. Yeah, and I will give our staff, Stone Swayze in our office and others who've been doing extensive work behind the scenes with our provincial partners to try to move this forward. It has been I think Ms. McGoldrick is being very diplomatic. It has been a challenging exercise, and this newest piece of information around IESO has just added a little bit of time to it, but we're hopeful that in the not too distant future we'll be able to move forward with this, and hopefully the experience will help facilitate in the future, if there's any similar kinds of programs, to maybe move forward in a more streamlined manner.
Excellent. Fingers crossed. That would be great news. My next question is, like, when I was reading this, I was struggling a bit trying to understand whether this is primarily, and I guess maybe it's both, whether it's primarily an environmental initiative or a supporting affordable housing initiative. And I think I'm going to distill that question by saying, when in this program, do we fund beyond the difference between traditional, like if they were going to replace their traditional furnace and air conditioner with heat pumps, are we, in this part of this program, are we funding beyond that difference? In other words, are we subsidizing the affordability side of it, or are we just funding the environmental side of it, if that makes sense? Yeah, sure, if you know the answer, Mr. Day, please.
Yeah, through the chair, this is a balance between, I don't think it's tough to talk about equity in pockets. There's energy poverty, there's comfort issues, there's affordability, and I think we need to look at them all collectively. I think one thing we can all agree on is we need to protect those who are most vulnerable, and that means having access to cooling. And sometimes if that increases greenhouse gas emissions, I think from a broader community perspective, from a compassionate perspective, I think that's something that we can live with, knowing that in the future, once we've electrified our heat and we have access to cooling, then there's a clear path to decarbonization down the road.
Okay, but sorry though, so is this, are we funding the entirety of the systems in this situation, or are we just subsidizing it? This I'm not clear on.
And perhaps Irva would like to speak to this, or Will. So the cost of the heat pump installation themselves is much greater than the requested $100,000. So it's a small portion of support for the retrofit project.
In general, okay. I think I'll follow up online. I guess what I'm trying to understand is if we're trying to push the environmental aspect of it, we would fund the difference between the traditional systems and, because the heat pumps are like, last I checked, they were like $3,500, $4,000 more. Or are we trying to do a hybrid and push, the affordability aspect of it and the environmental aspect of it? That's the only part I'm unclear on, but I'll follow up over email. Thank you.
Okay, we have questions of staff, and I had Councillor Singh and Councillor Ioannidis in the queue first. So Councillor Singh.
Yeah, I liked the direction. I think what Councillor Davey was saying. I think the overall cost of this project is significant, but I think that's where it leads to my question is where we can potentially have synergies with our utility department, where we could potentially support the offset of that cost, especially with the affordable housing. So not to, pretend to play armchair general manager. I get that sometimes these things take a while to properly, I guess, estimate or plan out how it could be part of our overall operations. No, there was a conversation happening in the conversation. I was directing this specifically at Ms. McGoldrick, so I wanted to make sure she had the attention. But we have been looking at an overall broad review of how we have the rental infrastructure unit program within Kitchener Utilities. I know they're looking to phase this out quite quickly, but this is an available opportunity to us. Is this something that we could potentially still look at and say, hey, look at a broader program, we don't know yet how we could, look at heat pumps as a part of the rental program, but because this is a scaled down, smaller pilot, this could be a way that we drive to get that data of how a broader community program could look like. Is this something that we can still look at doing or partnering up with them if there was interest on their part?
So through the chair, we can take that away. I know that there were initial conversations about the opportunity to include it. At that point in time, we had not received yet the equipment information from our consultant on the energy transition strategy. We're in the process of reviewing that information. So from a timing perspective, knowing and understanding the timing of needing to move forward with the retrofits, the timing didn't align. But that is it's an ongoing conversation around the opportunities associated with the rental program, and so certainly we can continue that.
Rather than giving a direction and forcing this conversation, and that's not my interest, because of the timings involved, would it be fair to say staff can engage with them, seeing what aspect of cooperation or alignment there could be with Kitchener Utilities, and based on a rental unit program that we're looking at already, and at least report back to staff at later as to what came out of those conversations?
So through the chair, certainly, and I know that we have Kitchener Utilities staff that is quite involved in this project, and also is involved in the rental program, and so there's a natural synergy there. So yes, to your question, we can have those conversations.
Okay, so I'll just quickly make a kind of a rationale why I'm really encouraging this. Like the overall project's, I think, $5 million, or they said broader program is $2.5 million. Some of it is coming from FCM. A small portion here and there is coming from places like City of Kitchener. The big bulk of it is having to be funded through Kitchener Housing, and where it could be a rental program as opposed to a full capital cost program. I just see them being able to do a lot more housing units than potentially the 118 hybrid heat pumps that they're looking at. I'm just looking for maximum synergy and maximum benefit. So if you can help drive that conversation, it's a great starting point. I would love to see larger wins out of this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ioannidis, did you have questions of staff? Sorry, can you cue in? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Schneider, and as usual, Paul beats me to the punch when it comes to looking at more efficiencies and greater involvement and everything else. And so I don't have much more to add other than I guess the question would be, it was my understanding that staff do have something in the pipes that's coming in somewhere between then, in September is what I was told, that we'd be hearing some more concrete. So I don't know if you could just verify that.
Yeah, so through the chair, the intent was to provide an interim update to council in terms of the energy transition strategy, as well as, so the outcome of the assessment of the individual activities that council had directed staff to complete, and how that will then, the next phase is the integrated business approach, looking at all those activities. So the plan was to do that check-in prior to moving into the integrated business approach.
Okay, and yeah, Paul, it wasn't FCM that gave money, it was CMHC. But if FCM would like to give us money and we know someone that's the chair there of the Green Municipal Fund, maybe we might get some money.
Okay, thanks very much. Are there any comments from committee? Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Ioannidis. All those in favor? Okay. Thanks so much. All right, we move on to item 5.2, the Special Events Action Plan. And our Manager of Special Events, Steve Roth, will provide a presentation to committee on this. All right, and Mr. Duick, welcome.
Thank you very much. This is my favorite part. So you can see that I'm not Steve Roth. Steve has graciously allowed me to have the honor to present today. So good afternoon officially, Chair Schneider, Go Rangers, Mayor, and members of Council. Today I have the honor of presenting the proposed Special Events Action Plan for 2027 to 2030. Kitchener's special events portfolio is a defining feature of city life. Events draw residents into public spaces, attract visitors from across the region and beyond, contribute to downtown vitality, and shape how Kitchener is experienced and remembered. At their very best, events create shared experiences that bring people together. They turn civic spaces into destinations and everyday moments into something memorable. This action plan is grounded in the recognition that Kitchener has reached a new stage of maturity. We have a national reputation as a reliable, professional host city. As demand increases, expectations rise, and operational complexities continue to grow. The opportunity now is to lead with greater predictability and intent. For this action plan, engagement happened with event organizers, partners, residents, council, and staff. This engagement confirmed two truths. There is a strong sense of pride in what's being built in Kitchener. At the same time, there's a shared understanding of current realities. Calendar saturation, rising costs, staffing pressures, and cumulative impacts are defining conditions of the special events sector. What we heard clearly during engagement is that sustaining success requires prioritization, governance, and predictable decision-making. When the vision and corresponding expectations are clear, confidence follows for staff, for event organizers, and for residents. The ambitious vision guiding this work is for Kitchener to be Canada's event leader. That vision is defined very intentionally. It's not about hosting the most events or the largest crowds, it's about how decisions are made. In practice, being Canada's event leader means something very concrete. It means events are delivered safely and professionally year after year. Organizers understand how the city's processes work and what is expected from them. Residents trust how public spaces are being used, and staff are supported to make clear, defensible decisions. So in this way, national leadership is not measured by volume alone. Success is measured by consistency, clarity, and built trust. To support that clarity and trust, the action plan introduces a set of guiding principles that shapes how decisions are made. We frame these principles in a way that's easy to understand and apply. To be Canada's event leader, we need to be Canada's best host city, Canada's event accelerator city, an event-friendly organization, and we need to keep the right pace. Together, these principles create a shared decision lens across the organization. One of the key ideas within those principles is balance, because sustained success over time requires more than just momentum. It requires aligning what we want to do with what we can realistically support. A key tool supporting this approach is clear event categories. We now recognize signature events, special events, and corporate events as part of the city's special events portfolio. Importantly, these categories are based on operational complexity and attendance, not budget alone. This allows us to align resources more effectively and focus our support on the events that require the highest level of coordination. Another shift introduced in the action plan is decision-making. This plan establishes a clear framework for intake, evaluation, and escalation. All event opportunities are assessed against capacity, calendar availability, budget context, and alignment with council priorities. Requests that fit within existing mandates and resources can be addressed at the staff level. Proposals with broader impacts are escalated as appropriate. This ensures that decisions are made at the right level and gives event organizers clarity about how proposals are reviewed and what to expect. Looking ahead, it's important to be clear that this action plan is a governance and decision-making framework. It does not approve specific events, it does not commit funding or staffing, and it does not change service levels. Any future changes will come forward through separate reports and issue papers during the annual budget process. The action plan uses a focused set of key performance indicators as a decision lens that frames success. These indicators help us understand whether we are delivering events in a way that aligns with council priorities, reflects the needs of residents, and considers long-term sustainability. In closing, Kitchener has built a strong, respected, and award-winning special events portfolio. This action plan was created to support our long-term success, and it does so by clearly defining what it means to be Canada's event leader. And none of this success happens on its own. Our achievements rely on the collective and exponential efforts of event organizers, local partners, council, city staff, and the residents who participate and enjoy our events. Together, those contributions are what make Kitchener's event portfolio strong today and position us well for the future. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Duick. We do have some questions from committee, starting with Mayor Brevanovic.
Thanks, Councillor Schneider, and thanks, Mr. Duick, for your presentation on behalf of you and Mr. Roth and the team. Great document in front of us. Loving the vision around Canada's event leader. I'd be remiss if I didn't again congratulate the team on the 2026 award for the 2025 season, and certainly pleased with the 4 guiding principles. I have 3 quick questions I'd like to touch on. The first one, as I read through the report, it looks to recognize that special events have a role to play both in terms of our residents and making the city a great place to live, work, and play, and events playing a role in terms of attracting and retaining talent, but also recognizing events as a tourism driver and an economic driver in and of itself. Just wondering if you can just speak a little bit more to that.
There we go. Can you cue him? There we go. Thanks.
Through Chair Snyder.
Yeah, you're good now.
Thank you so much. So tourism is a big part of the KPIs that we reviewed with council, and I think it is important to note that although the residents of Kitchener are the focus when we're developing event plans, we know that the impacts are broad, and we clearly see the economic impact of those events. So tourism certainly is a part of the KPIs and decision-making framework. So as opportunities come in through event intake, whether they come in through council or whether they come through senior leadership or through the community, through third-party event organizers, the tourism impact is one of the key pieces of the KPI Rolodex in terms of the scorecard that we're looking to evaluate event opportunities by.
Okay, thanks. The second question, and obviously this is a broad policy, and as you indicated, we'll get into, budget with the next term of council. But I think it's fair to say that, when we recognize the level of effort that's involved to have won the award that we did, and have the successful calendar that we've had, there's been no doubt staffing and budget pressures in order to deal with that. And is it fair to say that that is something we're going to have to look at more closely, particularly if we continue to have ambitions in this regard, we're going to need to make sure it's supported appropriately?
Thanks, through the chair. Thanks, Mayor Verbanovic. That's a great question, and we appreciate the mindfulness of council in knowing that the pressures are growing, and I'll let my colleague Steve Roth speak to this as well. But I think in the action plan, under the anticipated council considerations, we know that a right-sized operating budget is one of the potential issue papers that we bring forward to council to right-size the operating budget that's currently there. We also know with the pressures that the special events team has, that sometimes there's events that require contingency funding. The FIFA event that's coming this summer is one of them. While you can hopefully predict some of the big, larger events that are coming down the pipe, you don't always know if you have an opportunity to participate in those. And I think that right-sized budget will allow not only to correct some of the pressures that the existing portfolio is experiencing, but also moving forward, if there's other opportunities that we need to consider, that'll be a helpful change amongst others. So that is one of the issue papers that we'd be considering bringing forward in the budget process.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the last one is, as I look at this report, and I recognize that, year to year, things change. A pile of these, many of these events rely on partnerships, and obviously we can do them as long as the partners keep wanting to do them, as an example. Other things, as you point out, the FIFA Celebrate Canada event is a new one. Is it fair to say that this is, while this is a guiding document, it's also very much a living document, in that we're going to have to ebb and flow with those realities from year to year?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. This is very much so a living document. The action plan provides a solid foundation for our events program, and will continue to evolve as the events our portfolio adapts to the needs of change and changes of opportunity over time. But this is definitely something, and I think what staff and others can really attest to in the action plan itself is that it's built that way. We realize that these pressures change, so what are the key frameworks that we need to make our decisions by, but then how can we also adapt over time?
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. At the appropriate time, I'd be prepared to move this.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thanks, Chair Schneider, and thanks, Jeremy, for coming in, and it's always glad to see special events in front and center. It's a good thing. I guess one of the things what I like seeing in here is I don't see too much of it, but and you did sort of touch upon it with I guess partnerships and everything else. What I don't see in here is the partnerships from obtaining funding from other levels of government to help. We're obviously doing a lot of work. We're obviously putting in our share of the work, and I do not question any of that. I will gladly put more. I just don't see the other levels of government supporting our initiatives in here, and so maybe that should be part of this framework.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Ioannidis. Through the chair, and I will definitely let my colleague Steve Roth answer this one as well. But that is finding funding through grants is something that, if the finance team was here today, I would look back and give them kudos because there have been some funding opportunities that we've been able to achieve through grants. Steve, I will gracefully lateral the ball to you.
Thanks. My phone's ringing. It's an agent. Through the chair, agreed. You know, I think that what we've learned in the last 3 or 4 years is we have a certain level of quality that we want to achieve with our events, and it's getting expensive. I'm happy to say that the federal government does support our Canada Day initiative. The provincial government supports our Chris Kindle event through the Experience Ontario grant and Celebrate Canada event. I think that the number of asks that are out there from other municipalities, from other event planners, is mighty. Our colleagues across the province and event planners are all looking for funding. So we're actually pleased with the funds that we are getting from other levels of government.
Okay. I guess you're being gracious because I feel like, from my understanding, and in arts and culture in general, our community is definitely lacking in the funding. So, like example, I think Ottawa's Blue Fest gets a ton of funding, and all we get is a little few grains of salt when it comes to our Canada Day event. So, you know, I'm just wondering where all the other support is, and why are we still continuing to see this inequity? So, anyways, besides that, you guys are still doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Singh?
Yeah, Mr. Roth, just let your agent know your contracts are not up until 2040, at least. I share Councillor Ioannidis' sentiment that I think our events team is absolutely phenomenal. Knowing the list of events that's before us, and this is great for the public really to consume, seeing exactly everything that we do. And I think we do forget to kind of beat our own drum outlining the phenomenal activity that happens as a vibrancy in our city. I think a city our size, with the funding towards our events team and economic development in general, I think we punch way, way, way above our weight levels. So it goes to show I think the vibrancy in the community. So that leads to my next question. This is not it. I think what you guys have or endeavoring to achieve is beyond this as well, leading beyond 2026. So broadening the list and, you know, looking at other opportunities as well. Some of that obviously could be other orders of government funding, sponsorship, but again, we'll be limited, I think, through supporting entirety of it through our tax base. Are we looking at relying more through volunteerism? Like, you know, event ambassadors, Senator Square, you know, relies a lot of, in the past have relied on volunteers, you know, the ushers and all of that. What are we looking at as a form of volunteerism so we can have more events, or events can be more encompassing because we will have the feet on the ground that are part of the event planning?
Thanks for that question, Councillor Singh. Through the chair, I think the volunteerism piece isn't something that we haven't spent a lot of time thinking about, but it's certainly something we can think perhaps more about as we kind of take and finesse the final points of the action plan. But I do think in terms of running the event operation as much like a business as possible, we have been looking, and mentioned in the action plan is the notion of ticketed events. And so and obviously it's finding that fine balance between keeping events free and accessible for the community. But if there is a desire for enhanced talent in some cases, or if we can add additional days to an existing event complement, then growing the portfolio through ticketed events could be a method of doing that. So I know I answered the question, but I also added a spin. But that's the truth is the ticketed events is truly the means that we've been really focused on in the next stages.
And that was going to be my next question anyways. I don't mind that. Okay. I think if you want to have more events, some of them may have to be ticketed. I think we're providing a lot of free opportunity to begin with, and that's great. And I'm hoping we'll have other events added to this list. But if you can go beyond and go for the Grand Slam events, if they have to be ticketed, that's okay. The reason why I started snickering is just a little bit as you were answering my question about volunteerism. Something was, as a direction of council, driven to you guys, which was Kitchener Connect is a form of us building a strategy of liaisoning and working with the community of adding more volunteerism. And the volunteerism can be structured around event planning, amongst a lot of other things as well. It was missing here. I won't give you too hard time about that, but I think that can be the framework around it as well. But
Through the chair, thank you for that, Councillor Singh. I actually do have a good news story to share through my colleague Steve Roth about the Kitchener Connect program. I'm not sure how much he can say because I know it's still, the media release is still in development, but I do think that it's something that we can maybe share at a high level today.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Singh, through the chair, Councillor Singh, you are the inspiration to a new program we're starting this year called Community Connects, to allow not-for-profits out at our signature events to help spread the word about the not-for-profits that are out in the community, how the community can get involved. So thank you for that, and we're going to be going live with that, I think, this week. So we're excited to get that started. One of the things I'll add just about volunteerism and how we talked about this being an organic document is one of the, we work with great organizations, Oktoberfest and Blues being two. One of the things that they want to work with us on is bringing their volunteers into some of our events, Canada Day Way Back, to not only use as a training ground for their events, but to expand possible volunteerism through other events.
no, that's great. I'll keep back in my, I had a couple of questions too, but I think if the Community Connect or Kitchener Connect, or whatever we want to call it, let's not be shy about asking volunteers for the city of Kitchener as well. And I think it's easy enough to get people excited when it comes to event planning and volunteers that might be required for larger events. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Janot.
Thank you, Chair Schneider. Thanks for coming in, everybody. When we look at tourism and we look at attendance numbers, do we know like how much of the guests are from Kitchener, Waterloo, out of town, or is that super hard to ascertain without ticket purchases?
Thanks for the question through the chair. It's not super hard. There's crazy ways out there to get data. We did have a full data report for our last Christkindle market, and we can find with some room of error where people are coming from. It's actually interesting data that I'm happy to share with you and council if you're interested. There is a Christkindle, for example, outside of Kitchener. It was almost 50-50.
Okay.
So.
And that's good to know. And I know we've had conversations about making sure we bring people from outside communities for our free events. Anybody can go to a concert for free. I think it's a great opportunity to market ourselves out of town. And so this might be more of a Corey answer, a question, like the economic spinoff into our downtown and our hotels and restaurants. Do we have any idea what those look like?
So through the chair, so I think there's two benefits to be mindful of. For one-day events, it is the spending in our community that spikes. So we're actually working with the Canadian Urban Institute on it's actually a downtown-wide dashboard around data tracking. One of the elements they hope to add is credit card purchases. So I'm hopeful that maybe by the end of the year, we will be able to see upticks in or variations in credit card-based spending in the core based on that. I do know anecdotally from a restaurant outside of the core that every time there's a major event, they see their numbers go down. So their inferences we are drawing to the core. For multi-day events, I think it's working with the hotels to understand what kind of hotel impacts, room nights they're seeing over, say, a Blues Fest, which runs 4 days.
And I'll stick with you for a minute. I've often said, walking down to Victoria Park or along King Street, that some of our local restaurants are doing enough on some of those days to increase their footprint in our community by offering whatever, discounts or specials. Like, how do we get some of the restaurants? Again, I know we have food trucks and we'll have other options, but how do we get some of those restaurants on board to say, hey, like this is a great opportunity to expand your clientele because we have this many people in downtown? Like, how do we work with them?
So through the chair, I'd say this is an ongoing and forever ongoing body of work, largely in partnership with the BIA. But yes, we are. There are some that are every single event they're doing something, and there's some that we know don't do anything. I know his team has some interventions this year for those close to the event site to really promote them. But I know it is a body of work the BIA works on to encourage, at least. Can't always achieve action, but encourage restaurants to participate.
Yeah, and I understand that completely. My last question is, how can we attract a special event that is essentially would be a signature event? You know, I'm thinking Rock the Park in London, Bayfest back in the day in Sarnia. We've had our own kind of little hands in those big events at one point in time in the city. Like, how can we get somebody, a bigger promoter, where it doesn't cost us any money, but we can still partner to bring a big event into the city?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Deneau, through the chair. This is definitely part of the action plan focus, and in one of the guiding principles, becoming Canada's best host city definitely leans into that notion of many people don't wake up every morning thinking, I want to be a special event planner, but for those who do, how do we make sure that we're presenting ourselves in Kitchener as our best foot forward, that we're ready for business? And so we have seen some success based on Victoria Park with Endless Summer. That is a phenomenal venue space and has a large capacity. So, but also then balancing the needs and the internal demands of the park space. How do we respect and honor that demand as well? So it is a fine balance. It's about finding and matchmaking the right event type, the right event organizer and their needs and expectations with the right location, and then also finding an available event date. Because calendar saturation is pretty high in the summer months, but shoulder seasons, spring, fall, how can we kind of match make with event organizers who are looking to bring events to places who are ready to be supportive?
No, you guys do a fantastic job. The only add-in I would ask is the August long weekend doesn't have anything on the calendar. And somebody asked me last year, well, how come there's nothing on this weekend? Because the assumption is there's going to be something almost every weekend from July until the end of, or until Oktoberfest. And so if you could put something in there, that August long weekend, for those who don't go away, that'd go great a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Councillor Davey.
Really, Councillor Deneau, the one weekend that Steve's at the cottage, now you're going to book him? Sorry, yeah, I wanted to start by saying too, I hear from residents all the time about how much better our events have gotten in recent years, and I wanted to add my kudos to that as well. And thank you, Jason, for actually raising I'm going to say Big Music Fest return as being the blue sky type thing, because I think we all, maybe not Councillor Singh as much in the beginning, but he came around too, and looking back on that fondly. My question was on the data collection. I do think the goal is ambitious, to be like a leader in Canada in this space, and I think one way we can prove that is through data. So are there easy ways that we can collect and compare things like audience attendance, satisfaction with the event, that sort of thing, with other comparators?
Thanks for that question, Councillor Davey. Through the chair, I think the one of the key focuses we'll continue to look for is to find ways to collect data that are in line with legislated services and the expectations we have of privacy information, and ensuring that we're honoring resident privacy. But at the same time, when folks are on site in our spaces, attending events, what types of surveying can we do? What types of engagement can we leverage? With the upcoming launch of Kitchener Live, what types of data can we collect through polling, through social media? I think those are very safe ways where people are providing information. But of course, I think, and Corey, as the executive director, and other colleagues, their mindset is towards that as well. I know in the development services, we've talked about data collection. So that is very much a prevalent topic, but it's also respecting the privacy information. So it's finding that balance.
Yeah, sure. I think that's one of the places, like, for example, we're a leader in startups locally, tech startups. Like, obviously, you can't compete with the Valley in terms of sheer volume and numbers, but if we look at like per capita metrics, I think that's a real goal that we should be looking at. So that's good to hear. My other question is, and sort of following up on the ticketing question by Councillor Singh, as part of this, are we looking at any other ways that we can generate revenue from the attendees, like whether that's concessions or other sales of merchandising, that sort of thing? Is that something we'll be looking at?
Thank you for the for the question again, Councillor Davey, through the chair. Yes, in the near future, we'll be coming back to council with a public report to speak to some of those revenue line item initiatives. Food and beverage is a pretty significant line item that we could be looking to kind of drive new revenue opportunities. Merchandise definitely is another opportunity. So as events that have those components built in, those are the two big ones. And if you look at indoor venue spaces, comparable to the odd, food and beverage and merch, when you're hosting a concert, those are definitely the two big components for sure.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. And just quick comment then there as well, if I could, then I was going to ask the question Mayor Urbanovic asked at the beginning in terms of budgeting. So just, things are getting really tight with everything across the board when it comes to budget time. So that is something I'll be looking for in terms of revenue generation outside of taxation before we look at any significant increases to the budget. As important as it is, we have a lot of constraints, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Michaud.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot's been said, and I'm not going to repeat it all. I just want to comment that you guys are doing a great job for the events. I mean, it's pretty remarkable how far events have come in the downtown core and in the city, across the city, actually. I like the idea of volunteering, collaborating with other existing organizations. I think it's just a good idea to help you grow and help us grow and give us more support. As far as ticketing goes, has there been any study done to see what the threshold is for ticket holders? And I think that might be actually a better way to or an easier way to gain some more data on who's coming and when and where.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Michaud. Through the chair, the citywide polling that happened in 2025 through Forum Research, we did speak and ask about kind of general cost thresholds, what people are willing to pay. And I can go back and find some of the data and share that with you, but off the top of my head, $50 seems to be a threshold of comfort. And then obviously depending on the type of event, potentially scaling up, but I think it's not a high amount. But definitely $50 in and around as a starting point.
Yeah, and I think it would be a good idea and I'm sure you know this already, is to find the balance of having free events for those that maybe can't afford the $50 ticket. So there's always something for everyone at some point. I'm sounding like Oktoberfest now, but that's not it. But to have those other high-end ticket events and gain some revenue that way. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Singh is in the queue, but we're just going to stick with round one. So, Councillor Johnson, we're coming to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Schneider. And sorry, I almost forgot who I Yeah, I actually have a comment instead of a question, if that's okay. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm a little discombobulated at the moment because I was trying to look back at my notes. We had a presentation, an amazing presentation a couple of weeks ago about what we're doing right in terms of economic development and the things that we can be looking at. And I just wanted to say that one of the comments that I know struck Councillor Michaud and myself and other members around the Horseshoe was, and I was trying to find it so I could get the exact quote, but that Kitchener has amazing things going on here, but what we lack sometimes is the confidence. And what you're doing is you're bringing the confidence and you're going out and saying, hey, come here, let's have some big concerts, let's do some big things, because we have it going on here. So I wanted to support you in that and to just say, yeah, let's show our confidence. Let's continue to build that confidence. And one of the ways of doing that is by doing exactly what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Singh, round two.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Johnson, for that. I think that's, I said this before, we have to beat our own drum a little bit, letting people know all the things that we're doing. And this report is a way of it, but it gets lost in the noise. It can't be just a one thing, and then we look back after a couple of years when we're looking for strategic planning. We really got to showcase the wins of each event, the wins of that year. So speaking to that, just as an idea, I think what really makes people understand is what was the net benefit? And nothing drives that conversation about the net benefit when you have the dollars and cents attached to the economic development. Have a counter on your website showing estimatedly how much was the economic development benefit of that event, and that counter keeps on going up and up and up, and you see the full benefit at the end of the year, and you know what to beat for the year next, and you know what your goals are as well. I think that would be able to us sell that narrative of events within Kitchener. The other thing is to Councillor, I'm just making my comments too, if that's okay, so I won't ring back in. Councillor Davey, again, I'm in support of sustainability. So the ticketing event, if it can generate revenue, one, we can have broader events that are larger beyond our scope or capacity so that we can really, attract more people to the city. But the other is, of course, if there's an avenue of generation that can help sustain those special events that wouldn't happen otherwise because they are funding constraints. So look at that avenue. One last question, though. In looking at the special events season preview, on April the 12th, this is the Diwali Indie event. Diwali is in November. Do you know why do you know what that one is for? Maybe I'm catching you off guard. I'm just pinpointing. It's April 12th, Diwali Indie event.
Yeah, it's probably out of date or a misprint.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, I was like, okay.
We actually have so many groups coming and going. That chart is always, so the day it was printed might have, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to note that out. So we may want to edit that if this gets put online for people to be able to visualize and see what those events are. Other than that, I'll just summarize again. You guys are phenomenal. Anything for what you guys do and the resources you guys have. I think that the list is before us. What you're able to achieve, and so that's why I'm kind of optimistic. If you had more revenue through generation, so it's not tax funded, but generation through the events. If you had more volunteers, it's exciting to see what you guys could really achieve, and I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Just before I get the comments, just one question myself. On Tuesday, May 12th, the Kitchener Rangers beat the Barrie Colts. They win the Ontario Hockey League Championship. Council's all decked out in our Ranger colors. And shortly after that, the call goes out, are we going to do something for the Rangers? And the pep rally happens on Tuesday, May 19th. I'm just wondering, just for perspective, because these events happen, and I don't know if all of us on council are aware and our citizens are aware of just what goes in with resources financially and staffing to pull off an event like this, to get the sound system up, to hire a band, to get the Rangers, work with the Rangers on the program, to get Kitchener Fire down, to display the flag, all the things that go into that. Could you maybe just speak to that and let us know what's all involved in something like that?
Thanks, Councillor Schneider. So, gosh, there's no quick answer to that. Firstly, thank you all for your kind words. We have a team, a high-performance team who love what we do. And I know I talked to a number of people when my phone rang instantly when Kitchener won the third game, one game away. What are we going to do? They're in the Memorial Cup now. Those conversations are starting. We love what we do. It's not easy. There's a lot of thought going into it, especially about, when we look at what's going on in the world from a safety perspective as well. That's one of the foremost things that we want to do. But it takes a team. So things like the Rangers, to be able to call the Rangers, to be able to talk to our colleagues across the city of Kitchener, whether it's roads, whether it's operations. There's so much. It's such a collaborative. I always say it takes a village. It does. Yes, you need leadership, but you also need people that believe in what you're doing. And I appreciate your kind words about the event. It was somebody talked about tooting our own horn or something like that. But it was amazing to see what happened on that Tuesday with 36 hours or 48 hours of promotion, and 1,000 people showed up. And I'm pretty sure that Kitchener's going to win the Memorial Cup. and we're going to see thousands more show up. And we look forward to continuing to do what we do. But thank you for the question.
Okay, thanks, because it was a gargantuan effort by everybody to pull that off so quickly. So thank you for that. We'll move into comments, and Councillor Ioannidis, you're first.
Thanks, Chair Schneider. I guess my comment would be, we are doing such fabulous work, and you know what I've heard around this horseshoe about all the things that we're striving to see, and I'm glad we're having these discussions, and I'm glad that I think most of us are all on the same page, which is great to hear. I just still want to emphasize, like, I still hear every day, well, not every day, but I hear it all the time. Why can't we have another big music fest? And heard it again today here. And I guess what people don't realize how difficult that is and the financial risks with all that. So that's where I'm wanting us to push more and say, well, why can't other levels of government recognize this and you know, help at least alleviate some of the risks so that we can put on these events. And so that's where I'm hoping to see, because I think if even if we have another partner that can at least somewhat, you know, back some of the things that we can do, then we can get these events here. And then when we ticket them and we, you know, go through a series of events over the years, we start building that momentum and we start building that pot. So even when everything does go well, we have a cushion. And if it doesn't go well, even if it doesn't go well, we do have something to fall back on so that we can still keep going, because not every event's going to be a winner, but I think the majority will, and that's where we need to be, in that sweet spot. And I think this is the framework where we're going to be. So I do appreciate all the work that you've all done, and I think this is going to set us up for success.
Thank you. Councillor Michaud, you were next in the queue. Sorry, there's just a little bump there, Mayor, so.
It's okay, thanks. I have a comments and just one last question to tie in with comment. Volunteers are super important for success anywhere, but managing volunteers is a whole other job in itself. So is there a volunteer coordinator on your team?
Thanks for the question. Through the chair, no. So a volunteer coordinator is key with volunteers. If you don't have a volunteer coordinator, there's no point in having volunteers.
100%.
So that's the short answer.
Okay, that's all. All right, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Vervanek.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to staff for all of their good work, as I said earlier, over the past years, particularly last year with the wonderful recognition that we received from Festivals Ontario for the team's great work, and for this document that will help guide our work going forward. And I think that is important because it is meant to guide. As we heard, it is a living document. It is one that really looks to capture the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of our community, of our stakeholders, of our partners, of our council, of our sponsors, and of visitors to the community. And you know, we know that things like Oktoberfest, Christkindl Market, Blues Festival, in particular, are three of the big ones that bring out-of-town guests to the community. But I think as time goes on, there will be an opportunity for more events to do that, and to see some of the kinds of economic spin-offs that we talked about. It is a reality that you know, this document is ambitious, but I think it speaks to the ambition that our community has around events and the important role that they play in terms of the quality of life of our residents, and as I said, in our ability to both attract and retain talent in our community, because we know, particularly when it comes to the tech and innovation sectors, many of those companies and many employees can locate themselves anywhere in the world nowadays. And what often makes them make the kinds of investment decisions they make is exactly this kind of investment by the community, recognizing that not all communities are doing these kinds of things. As I said, we know that this is a living document. It will no doubt go through a variety of pathways along the way. I mean, as we started planning 2026, we didn't know, as you pointed out, Mr. Chair, that we would be having a pep rally to send our Rangers team off to Kelowna for the Memorial Cup, and with some great play and a little bit of luck, we hope to be having them back here for a celebration after they win the Memorial Cup I guess that would be next week already, when everything is said and done. So I am pleased to support this. Like I say, I know there'll be much dialogue and work that goes on in the future with this, and I'm really excited about not only what the balance of 2026 has in store, but what 2027 and beyond has in store as well.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to add a few comments of my own. A lot of great things have already been said, but one of the issues I think we hear about quite often is affordability. And our events give families and friends and individuals the opportunity to come downtown and experience a great event, whether it's the Wayback Festival, whether it's Canada Day, Chris Kindle. During Canada Day, when I was at the Kids Zone at the St. Louis School, we're great partnership there, somebody came up to me and said, these rides, all these attractions are free? I said, absolutely. And they were almost in tears, saying, you have no idea how much this means to us, to bring the family here, to celebrate the country we live in, and to have these free events. Because there are events put on in other municipalities where the event is free, but if you want to go on the rides or do any of the attractions, you have to buy tickets. So this is an investment, I think, that really is special for our community, that really does help a little bit with affordability. So I just want to say thanks for this great report and this plan, because I think it gives us the clarity that's needed to move forward, to enhance things and to grow things, but in a very responsible and measured way. So very happy to support this, and it's been moved by Mayor Vrbanovic. So all in favor? Okay, that's great. Thanks so much. We will now move on to item 5.3, our Arts and Creative Industries Action Plan, and our Manager of Arts and Creative Industries, Andrea Hallam, has a presentation for us. Good afternoon, Ms. Hallam.
Good afternoon, Chair Schneider, Mayor, Council. It is my pleasure to be here today to present the Arts and Creative Industries Action Plan. This work responds to Council direction in the 2023-2026 Strategic Plan and is being brought forward as a governance framework for endorsement. Creativity in Kitchener is not the issue, but there are key challenges that contribute to the current conditions, such as access to affordable space, clarity of municipal processes, paid opportunities, and fragmented visibility. This plan focuses on these system-level issues. Rather than serving as a comprehensive cultural master plan, the Arts and Creative Industries Action Plan is designed to support clear choices, realistic implementation, and accountable delivery. This plan is grounded in years of engagement, research, and operational learning. Inputs include artist-led research, public polling, council prioritization, and broad sector consultation, as well as operational reviews, all pointing to the need for clearer municipal framework. The Arts and Creative Industries Action Plan is also informed by a broad body of national, provincial, and local research that collectively identifies both persistent sector challenges and the areas where municipal action has the greatest leverage and responsibility. The vision of this plan, a city built for the arts, with reliable access to space and opportunity, clear municipal processes, and conditions that support long-term participation, we are creating conditions for Kitchener creativity to thrive. The city's role is not to replace independent arts organizations or creative enterprises, but to act as an enabler, creating platforms, infrastructure, and predictable systems that allow creative work to develop, sustain, and grow. Art is generated by the community. The city's responsibility is to support the conditions around it. The plan is shaped by 3 principles: spaces, accessible places to create and present; opportunity, clear, fair, paid pathways; and visibility, ensuring residents encounter local work. Together, these guiding principles respond directly to the consistently articulated community priorities and serve as the primary lens for prioritizing, sequencing, and evaluating actions brought forward through this action plan. These reflect core barriers identified through engagement. 5 areas of action guide this municipal work: spaces for production and presentation, public art care and creation, local artist development, communications and visibility, and music development. These 5 areas of action provide the delivery framework through which these projects are developed, funded, and reported, while guiding principles ensure focus, coherence, and accountability from across the action plan and where the city can create the most impact. Work already underway in 2026 includes the operations of 44 Gaukel, expanding exhibition and paid opportunities for artists, public art commissions and maintenance, advancing a temporary public art policy, the Kitchener Legacy Walk, and Culture Days, and improving communication tools. With regards to music, the Music Office is facilitating artist development workshops, paid performance opportunities, Kitchener Takes the Stage, and the continuation of the Rouge Island Music Series, positioning Kitchener as Canada's emerging music city. This work is already funded and focused on improving access and systems. Council is not approving projects or funding today. This action plan is a decision-making framework that clarifies the municipal role. Any future actions will come through separate reports and budget process. The plan includes annual reporting to council, ongoing engagement with the sector, and a full refresh at the end of the cycle. It is designed as a living framework. This action plan moves from ambition to a clear, practical framework that strengthens access, opportunity, and visibility while supporting consistent decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hallam. And we have a question, Councillor Ioannidis.
I don't really have much of a question, just I'm prepared to move it, but I guess my comment is this is exactly what I wanted to see. I want to see some accountability and some KPIs on where all this is going. So excellent work. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Stretch.
Thank you. Yes, I too really appreciate the actionable items and seeing this work really have a first and second step to see it move forward. I'm curious about why the focus on music. It's an arts plan, so why the focus on music?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Stretch, through the chair. We have heard through the engagement and the consultation that there was a gap and some of the support that could be offered. So when we looked at restructuring the music officer role, we have our new music officer, Will Muir, here today. We really looked at creating a framework to build for artists to come to be able to access resources, find out about resources, and walk them through a step-by-step process of, so you want to be a musician and how to get to where you need to be in your practice. So we heard that from the community, but then also City of Kitchener is very well positioned with the amount of venues that we have in our portfolio, but also the ecosystem lends itself very well for music creation, production, and ongoing support.
Great, thank you. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the work of the music officer. So I don't know if this is a question for you or Will, but how are you focusing on musicians and artists locally? And then how is that working towards being Canada's emerging music city?
So thank you again for your question through the chair. So Will has already met with over 75 local Kitchener musicians to help them on their journey and really has been listening about what their needs are. So whether that's getting a factor grant or setting them up with some other resources, he has also developed 2 upcoming workshops, June 4th and June 5th, that are going to be happening at the Conrad Center for songwriting, meeting industry professionals, people that are experienced in the sector, and then also Kitchener Takes the Stage, which we will be going live with soon, providing a literal stage and a platform for Kitchener artists to get visibility, but then also perform alongside more established, experienced artists. And then really changing the Ruse Island Music Series this year to really look at all areas of music and accommodate different audiences. And so he's just been in the position 4 months, and that's the work that we've undertaken. So the goal is that someday somebody will be able to say, I got my start in Kitchener, and they really supported my music career. So
Amazing, great. And then my last question is around how this connects with our events plan, having just had that agenda item on first. I'm just wondering where some of the natural overlaps are and how do they integrate to support each other?
Sure, through the chair. So that comes into our layer and local component. So working with the special events team, seeing where there's opportunities, whether it be on Canada Day or Endless Summer, to have our music officer work with somebody that might fit the bill that Steve's looking for, that's complementary to existing acts that we've brought in, and then get them that experience and have them to be able to perform in advance of some of our bigger events. I don't know if
as an opener kind of idea.
Thanks, Andrea, and thanks for the question. Yes, so we're excited to have Will on board as well. This year for Canada Day, we've added 3 hours of music during the day of local performers. This year, our headliner for Canada Day will be announced very shortly.
Oh, I thought you were going to do it in that moment. I was like,
I'm not doing it right now, otherwise people get mad, but it's going to be announced very shortly.
Okay.
But we're really proud that local musician Steve Strongman is supporting them and opening for the opening act. So already with Will's presence here, we've been able to keep bringing in that layer on local and bringing in local artists.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. Mayor Brvanovic.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the report that's in front of us, Andrea. Ms. Allen, this is a great report, and I'm excited about the directions that are referenced in here. The report talks about the work that's been done. I mean, going as far back as the first collaborative track project that we did coming out of the pandemic, to sort of really understand what some of the community's expectations are. But then the broad consultation that's been done since then, and some of the work that's been done in the past through our polling work with Environics and others. So I am quite excited about the recommendations that are in here. I want to touch on the Gawko Creative Arts Hub because this is an area that I think continues to have significant interest from the community and also significant opportunity in terms of growing the arts as an economic driver, not just for the sake of arts itself. And I'm wondering if you can sort of talk a little bit about some of the opportunities you might envision over the next few years in regards to that, and how we might deal with. I mean, one of the challenges I know is there's more demand for space than we have. So any initial thoughts on that?
Thank you for your question through the chair. Now that the operations at 44 Gawkel are done by the city, so we've hired a new part-time person that's there Tuesday to Friday now, to really give us a better sense of what the activity is like in the building and what the needs are. And we undertook a year's worth of consultation with the existing tenants, licensees, to really understand their needs. And we were able to subdivide some of the other spaces, the need for smaller space. So some of the spaces are only 50 square feet now, but really that at market or below market rate is really important. We've seen folks really thrive in that space and move on to other spaces. So Goodco is a good example of that. But we're also seeing actually huge influx of music production or songwriters, folks that are in music that are looking for space as well. So working with the music officer to kind of see how we can adapt that. The sound is not great in the building. Acoustics are a problem, sound bleed. But really also looking at working with the downtown team and the special events team on how we can really activate Gawkel Block in the space outside as well. And a lot of our artists in that space are also looking for more exhibition opportunities, so working with them on that. But it is definitely an in-demand project. We see an ongoing waiting list and always need for more space.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, the Action 5 focuses on music development, and I think you answered that one really well for Councillor Stretch. Action 4 references a little bit about implementing film office operational efficiencies. To be clear, we're not replacing our film office with music, but it's an and as opposed to an or. And I'm just wondering if you can talk about I think there's been some recent successes in that regards, and maybe more in the future. I don't know if you can talk about those yet, but just sort of where that aspect of our work is at.
Sure, thank you for your question through the chair. So when looking at the film music officer position over a year ago, the needs from the community to really have it really be concentrated and focus on music, we then looked at how do we address the film. And through the entire Arts and Creative Industries team, we found it was actually more efficient when a film request comes in to be able to have it go to any team member that is available and not just one person. But then we were also able to look at it a little more holistically and how do we promote films. So we recently just helped a local film company with also a producer and actors out of Toronto shoot a film that was in the streets of Kitchener, but also at 44 Gawkel was used as a men's center, a therapist's office. So we were able to use the facility in a way that had never been used before and actually meet 5 different set locations. And that took a huge lift from the entire team. So it was actually more efficient to have the whole film office now be part of the Arts and Creative Industries portfolio as a whole, but then has also opened us up. Word got traveled through the film community, and now we're looking at possibly a very large production that will be shot in Kitchener because they heard the support that is offered here in Kitchener.
Awesome, wonderful. And Mr. Chair, just so that I don't need to ring in again, I will just say thank you to Councillor Ioannidis for moving this. I'll be pleased to support it. I think it provides really strong guidance for us as a city about something that we know is really important. And blends well, as has been indicated with what we just considered in terms of special events. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we have Councillor Singh.
Yeah, I'm glad to get that extra feedback regarding the opportunities to attract more films, or like the media aspect of the film and music office. We're at a disadvantage. We don't have a lot of venues that could be something very unique onto its own that can attract. I'm talking about the examples of Galt, Cambridge, which has had numerous filming opportunities. I wish we had more of that. But again, where you can answer my question. I don't take a contrary opinion, but I think it's good to have that holistic conversation. When we look at the film and music office, music does have a synergy in our community. There's a lot that we do. Is it better to focus on that while we still have ancillary support on film, but pick an anchor while we support, and when you maximize the one, then you start supporting the other a lot more with the extra resources?
Thank you for your question through the chair. So what we found is we have a lot more practicing musicians in Kitchener. Film, because of the way with Ontario Creates, we sit outside the union zone, and our proximity to places like Toronto or even Oakville that's just inside that line, it makes it more difficult. And where we are able to position ourselves is, the Odd is actually a huge asset for a lot of hockey or sports film types, but we are able to support the demand of the artists here a lot better through the music avenue than, say, through film. They still get the same, film still has the same opportunity access to the entire team, but having a dedicated music officer, I think, will also open us up to a lot more opportunity to attract bigger events and promotion.
Okay, no question. What? Sure.
Thank you, through the chair. So one additional positive for our community is, if those that remember the Hacienda, that has actually, it's now owned by Moser. They are actually do significant filming out of that venue. So we've got a third-party company that is actually doing the work that normally would have fallen to us. We're simply playing a facilitative role. So we've seen some of those big wins in our community that ensure filming continues on here.
Okay. No, I'm not discouraging. Again, I'm just trying to say that sometimes you can fail at something when you try to do too many things. Is it better because we have the momentum on the music, really focus on the music, and then you add on support on the film? But it's good that we have that support, that we're seeing some wins already. What type of partnerships are we looking at? And when you look at the film, the music officer, and working within the Center of the Square as an entity, like how will we facilitate them where we can see more venues coming to the city that's music related, on top of whatever programming they're doing, but also with the resources that they have within the Center of the Square, similar to Conrad, that can support the music industry in Kitchener.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Singh, through the chair. One of the great additions that we've brought on board with the Arts and Entertainment Division is monthly meetings with our venue partners. So whether you're a third-party operated or if it's city-owned and operated, we meet monthly to discuss different things like programming. And now that Will's on board, and I know the Center of the Square is going through some other hiring, recruiting of a new programmer, but that type of connection has been really, really positive. And to your earlier question, having your ear on the ground, pun intended, in terms of the music sector, it's fast changing. And to have someone who's dedicated in that space, working alongside other venue partners, is definitely advantageous to not only Kitchener, but also the Kitchener venues, both third-party operated and city operated and owned.
So, Spock, talking about kind of providing that germination of the indie music culture, there's a lot of talent, but sometimes, showcasing the talent ends up being a challenge. I'm great that you guys have specified as that there's opening acts. Whenever we're doing a corporate sponsored event, we give them the opportunity. Have you looked at an event specific to Kitchener Music Festival, which is an indie music festival, larger location like the Odd, where it's positioned on the inside and outside to support a weekend long of music, and it's all indie music where people can showcase?
I can take this one, Andrea. Thanks for the question, Councillor Singh. Through the chair, I think as we look and develop the music officer a little bit more, we can look to see, especially linking back to the special events action plan, what maybe potentially ticketed opportunities might therein lie. So definitely something we can take away and consider moving forward.
Okay. There's no one else. Can I just make my comment too, so I don't have to bring back in? Yeah, overall, quite supportive of this. I think we just have to be creative with our opportunities. I have no question with the talent that exists within our staffs, with whatever's being happening and through events planning, economic development, and the film and music office. Whatever dedicated role that we do, I think we don't have to recreate the wheel every time. There's a lot of, I think, local entities that are doing much of what we want to do ourselves. So supporting them and having more of an incubation is a key aspect. How do we just get them to the next stage? We don't have to replicate that support. That support may already exist, but what's that little bit of extra support that we can give them for them to scale up on the music side, on their showcasing their overall talent? Again, that's what I see out of this. Not just how do we create that music scene within Kitchener, but how do we, allow, local artists to be able to showcase here first, where we create that atmosphere where others are wanting to come here to showcase their attraction. And that's where you have, eyes and ears that are looking to promote that local talent to, regions well beyond the city of Kitchener. And that's where I see the biggest wins out of this. But I think this is a great initiative. And I don't want to lose sight of, staff are amazing. We can't do anything without staff support because you guys have the key insight, industry knowledge. But sometimes, community initiatives are led through leadership. And the leadership started with Councillor Ioannidis on this one, where almost a decade ago, he kept on beating, his head against the wall and saying, film and music office. And to a lot of us, it didn't make sense at that point. But it's starting to make sense. It's starting to, you look at it now and why haven't we started this doing sooner? So I think that credit goes to him, where he really pushed that dialogue to get us to this point with staff support. But that vision was there, and I want to applaud him for his leadership on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Just questions of my own. We have some of our own great little music events. We've got Live at Lunch in Carl's Air Square. We've got the Ruse Island Music Series. We've got the Sunset Sessions. We partner up with Good Co-Productions. With Will here and the music office, would this help develop artists to be able to play? And would this be some of our events, some of the places they could play and grow and develop as an artist?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Schneider, through the chair. Yes, we're trying to provide that opportunity that they may not be able to get, but also everything leading up to that opportunity. So meeting with them to talk about their social media grants that they can have, putting them in touch with producers or how to write a song, really starting at basics. That's what Will has been hearing is there's that need for that initial support. And then as this plan articulates, building a city that is really conducive for those activities and for those artists to come forward and perform in our spaces and then excel their art.
One thing I think we've learned from Communitech is bringing the talent in and bringing them together. They can inspire one another. Do we see opportunities for, when we try to attract talent, we could attract musical talent. They could organically meet, create, collide together, and great things can happen. Is that one of the hopes of this plan?
It is, and through the chair, we're already seeing a lot of that happen with the 2 workshops that are coming up on the 4th and 5th of June, happening at the Conrad. So those are industry professionals that are meeting with local musicians to talk about songwriting, to talk about music production, to talk about getting started. So those industry professionals are recognizing the work that we're trying to do here in Kitchener, and they want to be part of it, actually, and they're really supportive of it. We've heard a lot of, wow, I wish this was around when I was getting started. So having that music officer be the connection to those existing professionals, but then also meeting with the community and listening to what the local artists are needing and the new folks.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Johnson, question or comment?
Great, yes. Thank you, Chair Schneider. I was going to ask a question around how do we support things that are going on with community groups like Belmont Village Festival, for example?
Through the chair. So that is something I think Will may or may not be having conversations with them about how to enhance their music programming or how to work with artists and musicians. So we're here as a resource. Staff are here as a resource to help be that connector, whether it be grants or up and coming talent or production needs. So we're here as that resource that can help our community partners.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because it's actually gotten quite big now. I think they said that last year they had 23,000 visitors to Festival, so it really is quite large. They were just on 570 today, actually, so I was listening to them speak there. But I'm wondering if there's some conversations and activities that we can be helping them with, because I think it has gotten to the point where it would be great if we did some partnering on that. So perhaps that's something you and I and Tammy Lawrence perhaps could talk about.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Blue.
Through the chair, and just on that point, I think, Festival, for example, gets a Tier 2 grant, and then Steve's team, because of that grant, is able to help them. So I think I just want to underscore, beyond what we've talked about today, the importance of the Tier 2 and Tier 1 granting program, because a lot of that enables the work that artists can do that Andrew's team can support.
Okay, comments from committee? Okay, I just like to add my own comments on that. Big fan of music. And when you have one of those nights when you've got an artist performing and they're connecting with the crowd and the individuals, there's nothing like it. Artists have a great gift. They can inspire us, they can comfort us, they can help us forget about our problems for a couple of hours. To see an investment in that, in the artist, just like in the tech industry, not everybody that starts up scales up, but if we give them the opportunity, the environment, the skills, the support, the tools, there's a good chance that they will. So I'm very proud to support this, and it's been moved by Councillor Ioannidis. So all in favor? Okay, terrific. We now move on to information items, the strategic plan update, the spring 2026 implementation. This is for, does anybody have any questions that they want to bring forward on this? Just for information, but we can bring it out if there's a, okay, that's great. So no questions on that. Can I have a mover for adjournment? Councillor Johnson, all in favor? All right.